everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on our Thursday webinar. Today is Redtail Essentials Workflows. So what I'm going to be doing is just a general overview of our workflows inside of the Redtail system. And first off, what I want to do is show you what an actual workflow, once it's already built out, after a template's been created, what it looks like running through the system. And so to do that, I'm first going to go over to the left-hand side on our left navigation menu and click on Workflows. What this page shows me is all the currently active workflows that are happening. And so what a workflow is in Redtail is a process. So it's a repeatable process that happens over and over again. So every time I have a new account, every time I have a new client, maybe every time I do a client review or a client meeting, I have a certain process that goes around that particular item. So for instance, I'm going to be talking about a client review workflow. So every time that I schedule a client review workflow, I start that actual process that goes around it. And so I already have one that's active right now. And I'm going to open it up and click on it. So you'll see it's called Client Review Workflow 2018. And then I have it set up right here. So the different terminology that I'm going to be using is first, we're going to have our steps. And steps are very high level, and they determine what part of the process you're at any given time. And so in this particular case, I have 3 steps set up for this process. I have one called prep for review meeting. The second is review day items. And then I have review follow-up. So those are my 3 steps. Underneath each step, I can have a task, or actually multiple tasks. You'll notice under step 2, the current step that I'm on, I have prep conference room, prep and gather all relevant paperwork, and review and print the yearly goals if it's needed. If I open up step 1 before that, the items that have already been completed, you can see that I have 4 tasks here. I have review and print the yearly goals, run the needed reports, run plan report from planning software, and confirm the meeting with client. So the tasks show underneath the actual steps themselves. The tasks are the action items. They tell you what needs to get accomplished and who it's assigned to. The best way I like to describe this is because it can only be one step at a time, think of it like you have to go run errands. I have to go to the grocery store, the hardware store, and the pet store. I can only be at one store at any given time. Same way works for steps. So I can only be on step 1, then I can be on step 2 before I can move on to step 3. So once I'm at the store, so let's say I go to the grocery store, I have a list of items. So I have a grocery list. I have to get milk, eggs, bread, bacon, butter. Those are the different items I need to collect at that store. So that's what our tasks are. So you'll notice that I have 3 tasks under the step. Now, once I complete all of those tasks or get all the items in the grocery store, I can then move on to the next step or the different actual store that I'm going to be going to. And so keep in mind, one step at a time, and the task can be done in any order. And so to build off of that about the tasks, when you go to the grocery store, you don't necessarily have to get the items in a particular order. If you go with multiple people, you can pick up different items at different times. The tasks are not supposed to be done in a specific chronological order. They are designed so it can be done in any sense. I do not have to wait for somebody else to complete their task before I can do mine. So again, the prep conference room right here, I don't have to do that first. I can actually prep and gather the paperwork first, and then I can prep the conference room. On my actual live active workflow here, once I prep and gather the paperwork, when that is completed, I can hit the complete button over here to the right. And you'll notice the status will change from in progress to completed. I know that item has been done. I can even edit or change any of the active tasks that are happening by clicking on it. And you'll see that it's assigned to the team of client service team, and I have the description if I want to add or change anything there, and I can update that. Now, another big thing in regards to workflows is the due dates, so I know when things need to get done. For this, you'll notice that the prep for review meeting is due by October 28th. My review day items is due on the 30th, and then my review follow-up is done on the 1st. So how that is set up is actually in our templates. We're going to talk about the target date, which is right up here in our active workflow. The specific target date for this client review for Clinton Barton is the 30th. And so when we go in and show how you build the template, you can choose that the steps are due a certain amount of days, weeks, months before or after the target date. And so, for instance, this one is the 28th, which is 2 days before the target date. I have this one on the 30th, which is the same day as the target date. And the first is going to be 2 days after the target date. And so, because the different durations of what needs to be done before, after that actual process, like that important date, which for this case is the actual client review meeting, you have the ability to control, okay, do I need to get step one done a week before, a day before, however you want. It's all up to you to determine what your process is going to look like. Now, once I complete all of these tasks underneath the steps, so let's say I prep the conference room and then I review and print the yearly goals, I can complete that. You'll notice I get a pop up and it's asking me about what the outcome for this step is. So the outcome only populates when all of the tasks have been completed underneath that step. And so I can choose the drop down, and these are completely customizable. So right now I have the option of either the client canceled, the client rescheduled, or the review was complete. Each one is going to point me in a different direction. So even though we have the intended purpose for our workflow to go step one, step two, step three, and then complete, you always have the option to either repeat the step you're on, go back a previous step, maybe even skip the next step. And that's what the outcomes are going to allow you to do. This controls the direction of the actual process and where we're going. So if everything was completed, I can choose review complete, and you'll see it pushes me to review follow up. It tells me what step it's going to go towards. I can put in notes if I want, so I can put all done. Now, these notes right here that are about the actual workflow, these are not actually the workflow, like the client meeting notes. These notes are going to be specific to the process itself. And so I'm not going to put in my final client meeting notes here, just things that are happening in regards to the process. So if they reschedule, why did they reschedule? If they canceled, why did they cancel? Why are we pushing to the next step? It essentially gives you that information. So here I can hit complete step. And you'll notice because the outcome selected pushes me to step three, I now have the ability to complete the tasks on step three. Now, if I go back one to the workflows page here on the left-hand side, you'll notice that again, this page shows me all of the current active workflows in the system. So right now I have one important information workflow going and a client review workflow going. For here, you'll see there's some certain dates. So I can see when the target date is, when the current step is due. So remember on client review workflow, we pushed forward to step three and that was due on the first. So I see the current step is due on the first. And this is estimated to be completed by the 30th, essentially is what it's showing right now as the target date. Now, another thing in regards to this is not the best place to come and manage your workflows on a daily basis. What I mean by that is if I happen to have 3 different client reviews scheduled, maybe I have 4 different client meeting workflows going, I have 5 different account opening workflows going, I have so many processes in this list, I'm not going to want to go and open up each individual workflow to see if there's anything that's assigned to me. The best way to manage your workflows when they're active is from the Today page. So clicking on Today, it takes me directly to this page. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a button that says 6 active workflow tasks. When I click on this, it opens up and shows me the actual individual tasks that are assigned to the user that I'm logged in as. So right now, you'll see that I am assigned to get these tasks by the 28th, and I'm assigned to do these 2 tasks by the 1st of November. Let's say, for instance, that I do the follow-up call, I can hit complete, and that falls off my list. You'll see that I still have for Clinton Barton, I have to update the review date. If I click on the workflow name over here to the left, it takes me to that actual workflow, and you'll see that the one that I just completed has been marked down, and there's other items that still need to be taken care of. And again, you'll see that there's certain ones that these 2 right here didn't show up, mainly because those were not assigned to me. Again, this is where I can come to see all of the tasks, but if I just want to see what I'm assigned to, you want to go to Today, and then top right-hand corner, choose Active Workflow Tasks. Other places you can view the tasks is on the calendar itself. So when you go to the calendar page, you have the ability to show or hide your workflow tasks under the actions right up here. So right now it says hide workflow tasks, which means all of my workflow tasks are visible. They actually will show up as an all-day event. So if I go to the next week here, you'll see in black these all-day events. It shows me these are the actual tasks that are still open and assigned to me. If I click on the update review dates, it's not going to open up an activity like on the calendar. It's going to take me directly to that workflow so I can manage it from there. So again, keep in mind there are multiple places you can manage your workflows. Another place is going to be on the contact record itself. So if I click on Clinton Barton and go to his main page, I can actually click on his name right up here on the left navigation menu now that we're in his record. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom of his main page, you'll see I can see the open workflow tasks that are still available and who they're assigned to. So if Bill enters the meeting notes, he can hit complete there and it falls off the list. Now, again, this is your active workflow. Once you actually know what your process is going to be, we highly suggest that you go through a whiteboarding process. And what that means is you sit down with your whole team who's involved in the actual process. So anybody who's doing the client review or part of the client review sits down and talks about the individual tasks that they do to make sure everything gets accomplished. Once you whiteboard out what your process is going to look like, you want to create the template. Now, the template is created by going to your name up here in the top right-hand corner and choosing Manage Your Account. Once you select Manage Your Account, third box down is going to say Manage Templates, and you can choose Workflow Templates right at the bottom. Now, if you haven't built any workflow templates before, this will be a blank page, but all you have to do is come here in the top right and choose New. What this allows you to do is choose the name of your workflow template. So if I want to call it Client Review, I can type that in. And then I have the ability to choose an owner field. So essentially the owner is who's going to be overseeing this process every time it's used. And that can be assigned to a user, a team, or a specific role, whether that role is going to be the advisor, associate advisor, or the CSA. If the owner is always going to be a certain person, I can choose that. I can also keep this blank. It is an optional field to use. I can even choose to categorize it. Right below here, when you're first creating the template, it gives you the ability to set the target date based off of when the workflow is created. Now, in the example that I was showing for the client review, I'm not always going to create that client review to be due a certain amount of days, weeks, or months after the creation of the actual workflow template. It's all going to be based off of the meeting day. But let's say, for instance, that you have an account opening and you want the target date to be day 1, or maybe to be 2 weeks out or a week out. This is where you can have that target date automatically set by choosing 1 week after the creation date. But if your workflow is ever based around an actual meeting that you're going to be scheduling on the calendar, you want to keep this section blank. Once you actually create that, and I'm going to open up the one that we have, the client review workflow that we were looking at, it's going to open up to a blank page, but you have the ability to choose new step and new task, and that's how you're going to create those steps and tasks. When I hit new step up here, it falls in line and creates a brand new step. I can choose to edit, and it gives me the ability to change the name of that step and when that step is due based off of that target date. So again, remember, if I scheduled a meeting on the 30th, I want certain things to happen before, during, and after that actual day. And so if I have a second follow-up step here, I can choose after target date, and I can say 1 week after the target date. That's how I set the due dates for my actual steps. Now, I don't need this step 4, so I'm going to choose the action button, delete it. But to point out, again, you'll see on my 3 steps here, prep for review meeting is due 2 days after the target date. Review day items is due on the target date, and review follow-up is due 2 days after the target date. So once I use this template and create a brand new workflow, I'm going to choose what the target date is, and then I'll have automatic due dates for those steps. And so I can make sure to get those tasks accomplished. Now, when you need to add tasks to your actual workflow steps, on the right-hand side, I choose New Task, and it pops up for me with the ability to edit, and I can change the name of the task. So again, the action item of what needs to get accomplished, and then who that's going to be assigned to. And again, either a user, a team, or a role. Once I choose those options, it falls in line, and every time I use this template, that's going to be automatically assigned on the actual workflow. Now, the outcomes are created on the step level, and it's very important to make sure all of your steps are created first before you create your outcomes. To create an outcome, you choose the action button on the step and choose Add Outcome. And again, the outcomes only populate when all of the tasks have been completed. And so for here, we chose there's different options like meeting confirmed, canceled, rescheduled. This right now is only giving me a drop down because these are things I've typed in the past, but this is a completely free form text box. So I can say, meeting complete, or meeting confirmed. Actually, that's more makes more sense for this one. Meeting confirmed. And then when I choose that outcome, what step do I want to go to next? So I can either complete the workflow, I can restart the step I'm on, go forward to review day items, or skip over to review follow up. Now, in this case, if the meeting was confirmed, I would want to go to review day items, and then I can hit create outcome. So again, that's how you create the outcomes, is going to the action button on the step level and clicking on add outcome. Once they're created, you can view them over here to the right-hand side under the template by clicking on outcomes. And you'll notice here's the 3 that I have set up. Client reschedules, restarts the step I'm on. Meeting confirmed pushes forward to review day items. And if the client cancels, it just completes out my workflow so I don't have to do anything else in it. You can also remove the outcomes here if needed. Now, again, once you have those 3 all set up, the steps, the tasks, and the outcomes, you have a fully completed workflow. And then from there, you have the ability to use that template over and over again to make sure that your process is done the same way every single time. Once all of that is set up, how you actually start a workflow can be in actually multiple locations. The best place to do it is actually using the quick add icon right up here on the top. So if I click on quick add, I can then choose workflows, and then it's going to show me a list of templates. So I can say create the workflow with the client review workflow. I can choose that. I have the ability to change the name if I want. And then I also have the ability to link it to a contact. So if I'm going to link this to the contact, I'll link it to myself here. I can choose that contact record, then come down and choose the target date. So again, this is that important date. Let's say, for instance, that we scheduled a meeting on, we'll say the 7th. So I can choose November 7th as the target date. So that's going to be the same day as the meeting that was set. And then choose create new workflow. Once I do that, it takes me to the new workflow that was created, and you'll see it's linked to the contact up here. The target date is the 7th. I have prep for review meeting with these tasks that are assigned to these individual users or teams, and it's due on the 5th. So again, that template was 2 days before. So the 5th is 2 days before the 7th. My target date is on the 7th here, and then my follow-up is 2 days after on the 9th. As I go through and complete that, it'll actually update the different people who it's assigned to. Once all these are completed, everybody in the next step will be notified that the workflow is ready to go for the next step. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 1-800-206-5030, and that's option 3 for support. You can also send them an email at support@redtailtechnology.com. Thank you so much and have a great day.